Hi, everyone. We are the Book Cougars, two middle-aged women on the hunt for a good read. I'm Emily,
And I'm Chris.
and we are here on a Sunday morning. It's bright and early.
Bright and early, so our brains are kicking in with some caffeine.
Little Java, always
Oh
good.
yeah, yes.
We're excited because we thought we would give you a little preview into what's coming ahead for the next two episodes, actually.
Yeah. At the end of this video, we're going to have a clip with Bill Goldstein, who is a moderator extraordinaire. He has a TV spot on NBC New York, and he's also an author. So we're going to share a little clip about that, and you can listen to the full interview with Bill on episode 119, which will be coming to earbuds everywhere on December 22nd.
Right, this Tuesday. And then that will be our last episode of 2020.
Unreal.
We're going to bid 2020 adieu.
Yes.
And then our first episode in 2021 will be in January, obviously, and we're going to have a super special guest to join us.
Yes. We are going to be, each of us, talking about our 10 favorite reads of 2020. And these won't necessarily be books published in 2020, although I'm sure there'll be a lot of them. It's just going to be the favorite books that each of us read in 2020. So that's 10 books times 3, 30 books. It's going to be a big episode.
It's going to be a whopper. Look out. We're going to start your 2021 with a huge TBR add-on.
Absolutely. And we want to have add-ons from you for our TBRs. So we would love it if you would share with us your top reads of 2020, your 10 top reads. You can send us or just put it in the comments or email us just the title and the author. You don't have to go into any detail whatsoever. And what we're going to do then is put it all into a big spreadsheet and have a Book Cougars listener top 10 reads of 2020.
Yeah, we can't wait to see what's on this list. And again, it doesn't have to be a book that came out in 2020. You don't have to tell us about it. You don't have to rank it, which is my personal favorite thing because ranking is really hard for me.
Yep.
But we look forward to hearing from you. And our email is bookcougars@gmail.com.
Yeah, super simple. Or like I said, put it in the comments below if that's simplest for you.
Yeah.
And thank you for that in advance.
Yes, we're very excited. Can't wait. And we thought in the spirit of top 10s, we would share not our favorite book of 2020, but one of
them. Right. Yes. You want to go first?
Sure. I read it as an ebook, so it's kind of awkward. Let's see. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see a title. Yeah.
I'll go closer. Our Lady of Perpetual Hunger by Lisa Donovan. This is a memoir, a food memoir with no recipes. She talks a lot about food, but doesn't include recipes, which I thought was actually really brave and cool. Lisa Donovan is a renowned pastry chef. She's worked at some of the biggest restaurants in the country. And this book is really about her talking about her childhood, her upbringing as a military kid who traveled the world and was introduced to all kinds of foods. And then how she became a young mother and still was able to make her way in the restaurant industry, which is not easy.
Right.
A very male-dominated restaurant industry. And it's a lot about womanhood and taking control of your life. And I have thought about this book every day since I read it.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
highly recommend.
I mean, the restaurant industry, it's just tough. You're on your feet all the time, usually working long hours, constantly in motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very adrenalized too.
Yeah.
So to do that and have a family can really be challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. Well, one of mine is here. I'll show you on the screen too. I also read it as a audio. What do you call it? An ebook. So that's the cover.
Yeah.
It's Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark, and I love this book. It's a fantasy type novel that deals with racism, the Ku Klux Klan, social justice issues for women as well. really just brilliant the way he takes mythological type characters and weaves them in as well.
Mm,
So, the opening scene is one I think about really quite often. And it's a book I'm totally going to read again really soon. I think
mm,
technically it'd be classified as a novella because it's pretty short,
hmm,
but it's so
mm,
powerful. It doesn't
yeah,
feel short. Like when you finish it, you feel like, whew, that was
yeah.
something.
Well, he has short stories too, doesn't he? So maybe
Yes.
that's, I wonder if it started initially as a short story that kind of expanded.
You know what? He does. Yeah. One of the short stories I read of his this year, and like he's one of those like favorite new to me writers that I
Uh-huh.
plan to read a lot of. One of his stories, which you can read online, it's linked on his website, is The Secret Lives of the Nine Negro Teeth of George Washington, which won a Nebula Award. So, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a cool author. And that's actually a pen name. He's actually a historian in well, he's a writer in real life too. I don't know why real life came to mind, maybe because it's a fantasy novel. But he's an academic historian in comparative slavery and emancipation in the Atlantic world. So
Wow.
he knows his stuff.
Yeah, I would say his history for sure. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I wanted to give a show and tell, if I
Oh,
may.
please.
I'm wearing this really cool t shirt today. If you could see that.
Read, love, support.
Yes. And
I like the little cat is kind of the bookend, right?
right. There's a little cat. This is a different
Yeah.
one. You can
Oh,
see that
cat
a
and a
little cat and
mouse.
a mouse, right?
That's
Um,
adorable.
and so this was through the Bink Foundation, which we've talked about before, and we had Annie Philbrick on one
Yeah.
of our episodes in 2020 talking about the organization. And so, if you're looking for end of the year donation places to donate, we totally recommend Bink. It supports
Yeah.
booksellers and comic book stores around the country.
Yeah, they're doing wonderful work and have really been put to the task this year as bookstores are struggling for sure. So
Yeah.
we highly recommend. And Chris, you'll put a link to Bink down
Yes,
below
down
this video,
below.
right?
I
Right.
shall.
Great.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, well, everybody, we wish you happy holidays.
Yes. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Who knows? We can't make any promises. This might not be our last video of 2020, but it might be.
It might be. Who
Yeah.
knows
Who
what the
knows? Yeah.
next 2 weeks will bring.
Yes.
But reminder to get us your top 10 reads of the year. We would love to hear about them, and we will be putting together a spreadsheet.
Yes. And we'll
Yeah.
definitely, of course, share it with everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So up ahead is, or next, up ahead, next
Next.
is our little snippet of our chat with Bill Goldstein. Enjoy.
Enjoy and happy reading.
Happy reading, everybody. When you record Bill's books, you sit in front of these beautiful bookcases when you're at home. And I don't know if you've seen in the New York Times lately, because folks are having all these
Yes.
interviews on Zoom. They're doing this fun little thing where they highlight, three of the books behind
Yes.
these famous people's heads and tell us what they are. Do you spend time, changing your shelves? Are they always the same? How do you decide which books to sit in front of?
Well, thank you. Yes, the bookshelves actually are very similar to the bookshelves I grew up with. And when I moved into this apartment, my mother, as a housewarming present, gave me the money to build floor to ceiling bookshelves in our living room. And so there are two walls of books in our living room, and the shelves look very much like the ones I grew up with. Including having at the top, lights that go around the top of the bookshelves. And my mother was adamant that in having giving me the money to build the bookshelves, that the bookshelves should be at least at 12 inches deep, so that there could be enough space for two rows of books. And so that's very much like what I grew up with. And when on Mother's Day, once I began filming the segment at home, on Mother's Day, I by Mother's Day, that had been, I guess, 2 months after I had started filming at home, and some viewers had written to me and said nice things about my bookshelves, and even my husband, I mean, who works in the theater, he would have all these Zoom meetings in front of the bookshelves. I mean, because that's the backdrop in the living room, and then people would ask him about the bookshelves and say how lovely they were, and so he said, "Oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me," because of course his goal has been to have fewer books in the apartment. And like here, the Zoom era has begun, and people are complimenting him on our bookshelf. But when Mother's Day came around, because of these compliments I got, in addition to doing um, uh, Mother's Day suggestions of reading, I thanked my mother. I mean, she died in 2019 at 96, so she lived a good long life. But I paid tribute to her and said about the bookshelves, since people had complimented me, that these were very much like the bookshelves I had grown up with, and I thanked my mother for giving them to me. And what I did is I showed a picture of me at the age of 3 sitting on my brother's lap with the bookshelves behind us, and you could see that they were basically exactly the same kind of books.
That's great.
So, in terms of the actual backdrop, um, we did neaten up the shelves a little bit because I mean, they're not quite higgledy-piggledy. I mean, they're somewhat organized, but they were better organized 20 years ago than they are now. But I would lie books down on their side, et cetera, and Blake, that's my husband, was not always pleased with that look anyway. But so we have taken off a number of the books that were lying on the side, just so that they're more vertical. So that we did neaten up those shelves, not in the whole apartment, but those. And and so the books that are behind me are just happen to be where in our apartment it's best to sit in terms of the light and moving the TV to the side. I mean, we don't have
Yeah.
endless amounts of space, and so I could probably find new places to film, but I actually just sort of know now the routine of moving the TV this way, putting my iPad at a certain place with a certain number of books beneath it to lift it up to the right level, and so. There are largely the same, although I have to say, even in that way, coincidence plays a wonderful role in life. In May, I was asked to moderate a Zoom talk for a group. It was going to be a talk with 2 actors who were in the Broadway production of To Kill a Mockingbird, and to talk about the play. Obviously, it was in May. There was a lot about Black Lives Matter, social justice. I mean, and of course, nobody was performing the play, so it was a little bit attenuated. I mean, we were talking about the importance of this play at this moment, but it was not being performed. But I did the talk, and the actors were wonderful, and the group was wonderful. And behind me, not behind me now, but behind me on the shelf was the copy of To Kill a Mockingbird that I had from my father's library. And I had not planned that, but that's just where, we had set things up. So at a certain point when we were talking about the actual book, I thought, oh, and I reached behind me and I took the book off the shelf. And, unfortunately, it's not a first edition, but it's a printing from 1960 when the book was published, and so I showed the book to the actors and to the audience on Zoom, and this is, and then my father would often write his and my mother's name inside books, so I was able to show them that, and uh, a couple of times I've been able to show my father's books on the air or something like that, and a couple of years ago. I did a Black History Month segment about a Library of America volume published, the 2 novels by Anne Petrie, who wrote a book called The Street. That was her first novel and a famous novel. And it was the first novel by an African American to sell 1 million copies. and I had my father's copy of that book, which I had read
Wow.
in high school, and it's a first edition with the jacket. And so I brought it to the studio. That's when I was doing things live still, and when I made that remark about it was the first novel by a an African American to sell 1 million copies, I was able to say, and my father was one of the people who bought one of
Right.
the books,
That's
That's
and
awesome.
here is
amazing.
his first
Yeah.
edition, and then we showed his name inside it.
Wow.
That's
So
fantastic. I love that novel, and